Stocks on Wall Street close higher even as Fed Chairman Jerome Powell quashes hopes of a rate cut in March. Asian markets trade largely higher while the Gift Nifty is suggesting a higher start for the Indian market. Crude prices rise. Brent trades above $78 a barrel on expectations that oil production could plateau after hitting record levels in 2023. PSU banks will post profits of over 1.3 lakh crore rupees this financial year, says Banking Secretary Vivek Joshi, even as he calls the estimates conservative. Expects similar trend next fiscal as well. That's an exclusive. Only days after Paytm CEO Vijay Shekhar Sharma met with RBI officials following the crackdown on Paytm, sources tell us that the Paytm founder also met with Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to discuss the current situation with Paytm Payments Bank. In key earnings to track, watch out for numbers from Tata Consumer Products, Nestle and Trend. Lupin and Manappuram Finance from the broader markets will also report numbers today. Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast. Those are the top headlines that we are tracking. Global pictures looking very good this morning. A slew of corporate earnings in the US markets, and that is something which has boosted the sentiment there. But of course, we do have those comments coming in from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. We'll discuss that in greater detail. But first up, let's take a look at the Asian markets. Well, following the handover that we've seen from the Wall Street, it is looking good. The Taiwanese index markets, they are shut for a holiday. But apart from that, if you look at something like a Hang Seng, that index is up 1.3%. Kospi is up 1.6%. We have something like a Shanghai, which is up 0.2%. So it is a good-looking screen, barring Nikkei, which is seeing some profit-taking right now. The Gift Nifty, that'll come up for you on the screen, and that one is indicating the start could be very strong again. There could be a new high if we go by those levels, but we'll have to see which way things go. It's a 145 uptick that the implied open for Gift Nifty is suggesting. Let's talk about US markets now. Stocks rose on Tuesday on the back of the latest batch of corporate earnings, as well as Street assessed the timeline for rate cuts from the Federal Reserve. S&P 500 gained 0.2% and closed near session high. The tech-heavy Nasdaq added over 140 points, while Dow Jones was up by 11 points. After Fed Chair Jerome Powell dashed hopes for a March rate cut, Cleveland Federal Reserve President Loretta Mester also advocated a patient approach to cutting interest rates this year. She said that they are open to rate cuts once they see evidence of inflation easing towards the 2% target. On the earnings front, Palantir Technology surged nearly 31% after their revenue beats estimates in the fourth quarter. Spotify also gained nearly 4% after their earnings topped expectations. The company also reported an increase in premium subscribers. Chipotle, the Mexican grill, and Ford also surged after reporting better than expected earnings post-market hours yesterday. Okay, that is a long list, right, of US earnings. But let's also listen into some important opinion coming in from the market experts on the interest rate cuts.
We don't know when the Fed is going to cut rates. And there's obviously greater hopes that the Fed may cut in March. That's now having to get pushed back. So that's why a lot of those catch-up trades are in the holding pattern. But for the economy, I think if they deliver the rate cuts in the first half of the year, I think that's preemptive enough. We talked about, kind of the piles of debt that are out there. And the reason I'm not concerned about this very moment is because they will likely be refinanced at lower rates if the Fed delivers the rate cuts in the first half of the year.
Okay, it's time to get you the final update on our global market wrap this morning. Energy heavyweights pushed European markets higher on Tuesday with the French CAC up 49 points. The German DAX, it hit a fresh record high and surged over 125 points, while the British FTSE closed with gains of 70 points. Oil joint PP climbed over 5% after reporting a better than expected set of fourth quarter earnings and accelerated its pace of share repurchases as well. Okay, all right, that's the global market action, but how will these overnight cues impact our own markets? We have our research team joining in to tell you just that. What's the trade setup looking like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news, and the action in the F&O space as well. First up, let me go across to Hormaz. Hormaz, what is the market setup looking like today?
The market setup is looking very positive, as the Gift Nifty is indicating, and it is kind of expected as well, considering the session that we had yesterday. Now, over the last few days, we've been witnessing that the Nifty has been selling off from the intraday highs. Now, that pattern reversed yesterday. We saw a dip in the initial part of the trading session, but that dip was very convincingly bought into. Now, the Nifty had an intraday low of around 21,737 yesterday, and that recovered almost 200 points from the day's yesterday's low and closed well above the 21,900 mark. And this happened despite the lack of support from the banking stocks, as the Nifty Bank continues to remain the sore spot in the market because it was down for the third straight day yesterday, and it is continuing to struggle to cross that 46,000 mark, although now it is in that range of 45,500 to 46,000 now. But what has done well though is IT. The Nifty IT was at a record high yesterday, so was the Nifty Pharma, so a bit of a defensive bend coming in there to the market. Both these indices hit a record high yesterday, as did TCS. Now what levels you need to watch out for? Monday's high will be the key for the Nifty. First up, 21,964 is that level, and then of course the previous record high of 22,126. Some earnings reactions today will come from stocks like Britannia, Navin Fluorine, Nykaa, and Tata Consumer, Nestle, Power Grid and Trent are reporting results today, so we'll keep all of these stocks on the radar as well. Primary market activity is heating up as 3 IPOs open for subscription today, with Jana Small Finance Bank, Capital Small Finance Bank and Rashi Peripherals. The US markets were flat overnight, as you mentioned, but there are some extreme reactions that are coming in. Palantir was up 31% post earnings, but Snap fell 30% after hours because of its earnings miss. The Asian markets are largely positive, barring Japan, and the Gift Nifty is indicating a very positive start. It is trading currently at 22,126, which was the previous record high. Back to you.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Hormaz. Looks like it could be a good day for our markets. Now let's talk about all the stocks that will be on our radar. Upasna has that list. Good morning, Upasna.
Good morning. First up is Britannia. The numbers were largely in line. The volume growth beats estimates and it's seen at 5.5%. Next up is Navin Fluorine. While the margins were under pressure this quarter, the margins stood at 15.1% versus 27.7% on Y&Y basis, while we were working with a poll of almost around 22%. Next up is Nykaa. The company has showed a good Q3 performance, both sequentially and on a Y&Y basis. The revenue was up almost about 19% sequentially. Next up is JB Chemical. The growth is seen in single-digit revenue growth, but margins expanded sharply on a Y&Y basis, while revenue was up about 7% at 844 crores. Next up is Lupin. The company gets a US FDA approval for bromphenic ophthalmic solution. Mainly this solution is used to treat pain or swelling of the eye following the cataract surgery is what the drug is used for. Next up is Biocon. The company gets a tentative US FDA approval to market generic anti-cancer medication. That's the reason the stock will remain in focus today. And lastly, Karnataka Bank will also be in focus today, as the bank has received approval from RBI to exercise the call option on bonds. So these are the stocks which will largely remain in focus today.
All right, so those are the stocks on our radar. Finally, Mangnam is joining in with all the cues from the F&O space. Hey, Mangnam.
Good morning. So the Gift Nifty is indicating a firecracker start, and the up move, so the settings of that were visible yesterday as well. The Nifty ended at the high point of trade in yesterday's trading session, and this was led by the Nifty IT. So if you look at both the Nifty as well as the Nifty IT index side by side, you see that it was a big move that we saw, and the Nifty actually did well despite the Nifty Bank not doing well. But in that as well, the interesting positive was that HDFC Bank actually did not do as bad as the Nifty Bank, and in a sense it did not deteriorate as much, and HDFC Bank too ended at the high point of trade. FIIs and DIIs, both of them bought in the cash market. Close to around 1,200 crore worth institutional buying is what we saw. And FIIs bought about 568 crores in index futures too. Now, one would say that why is it that 568 crores is, the number is so small despite the market moving higher? Well, that's because the FIIs actually net bought close to 1,200 crores on the Nifty, and they sold around 681 crore in the Nifty Bank. So if you just take a look at the FII action, they added 7,200 longs and added 5,500 shorts. All the longs were added on the Nifty and all the shorts were added on the Nifty Bank. And that's where the problem pocket is for the Nifty Bank to outperform, and that would lead to the market sustaining at near record highs as well. 21,900 put, that's seen a fair amount of writing telling you that the support has moved higher to 21,800. Those who had written the 22,000 call covered their position, so they were anticipating the sort of up move in the market itself. For the Nifty Bank, 46,000 on the way up will remain a stiff resistance, given that it is weekly options expiry. And Ashok Leyland, a stock that we pointed out yesterday, has entered F&O ban. So that's something which you have to keep on your radar.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us and prepping us up for this trading day ahead. Only days after Paytm founder Vijay Shekhar Sharma met with RBI officials following the regulators' crackdown on Paytm, sources are telling us that he also went to North Block. Sapna is joining in to tell us more.
That's right. This was a short meeting by Vijay Shekhar Sharma with the finance minister. He had been seeking an audience, and as you rightly pointed out, post RBI, this was the second big, visit and second big call that he had made. So basically, he has brought the government up front in terms of the situation unfolding at PTM currently and trying to seek support. But if you listen carefully to the finance minister's statements on the PTM matter, yesterday we also spoke with the DFS Secretary, Mr. Vivek Joshi, on the same. Government doesn't want to comment on regulatory issues. So the indication is very clear that this is something that's between the RBI as the banking regulator and the company. And, the finance minister in her interviews also has made it very clear that she will not speak on, individual companies and matters which are under investigation. So that's where the matter remains, and we have to wait and watch and see if anything unfolds on this front. But government at its end is very clear, not basically distancing itself, but trying to stay away from where the regulatory ambit is not with itself, but with other regulators like SEBI and RBI.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Sapna, for joining us and giving us all those details. That's on PTM. Of course, it's a developing story. We'll keep getting you more updates on this one. Let's slip into a short break. When we come back, we'll get you excerpts from an exclusive conversation we had with Vedanta Chairman Anil Agrawal, so stay tuned for that. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast here on CNBC TV 18. Well, the government expects public sector banks to rake in a profit of more than 1.3 lakh crore rupees in the current financial year. Speaking to my colleague Sapna Das, Financial Services Secretary Vivek Joshi said he's optimistic that the sectors will witness a similar run in FY25. The Secretary added that if interest rates come down, banks' margins will come under pressure. Listen in.
The profit of public sector for the last financial year has been more than 1 lakh crore rupees. Now this year in 3 quarters we have already achieved 0.98 lakh crores of profit in the 3 quarters. So the expectation is that we will breach whatever we have achieved last year, and this year we might go up to 1.3 lakh crore.
Okay, it's time to shift focus to the second edition of the India Energy Week that kick-started in Goa yesterday. The 4-day conference focuses on key themes of energy transition and a roadmap for sustainable growth. At the event, my colleague Manisha Gupta caught up with Anil Agrawal, the chairman of Vedanta, and began by asking him about how the previous quarter fared for the company. Listen into what he had to say.
Yeah, I'm very proud of my team and very proud of my product. I don't have to sell every product. You cannot replicate what we do. It takes 10 years, looks billions of dollars to make, and I don't work less than 25-30% margin. And I raised this money to build in India, abroad, got this money here, built it. Some of the money I have to repay, which is a very small money, and we have restructured and everything is beautiful. My shareholders are very happy. I have a retail shareholders increasing day by day. Day by day, they have a very happy. For me, nothing is more important than my shareholder. I always communicate with them. I'm always there. I stand by them, and we will have the coming year. We'll have a revenue of about $30 billion. We'll have about more than $7.5 billion profit. The total debt in the company will be $12 billion or $11 billion, which is nothing.
How is 2024 looking to you? Because this is the time when markets believe that could be changing in sense of liquidity perhaps coming back, interest rates going down. There are geopolitical tensions. There's Chinese demand concerns as well. So there's plenty happening around.
Earlier, the wave used to go one side. Now wave is going very different. China is a different wave. America is a different wave. India is very bullish. Middle East is going in a different way. So India looks good to me, and India is very bullish. People have not seen, because people have not seen scooty, people have not seen the laptop, people have not seen the house. 65% people are below the middle class, going to be in the middle class. $2,000 going to be $5,000. That buying power will come. Everybody's excited.
What are Vedanta's plan for 2024?
I told you this is what we are looking to. We will increase about 30% production of oil and gas, zinc, silver, copper, iron ore, aluminum. I'm very bullish on technology side. Things looks good.
Okay, all right. That's the word coming in from Vedanta Chairman. We'll keep getting you more updates from India Energy Week. We'll slip into a break now. When we come back, we'll get you all the cues from the commodities market. So stay tuned for that. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast. It's time to get you the latest from the war unfolding in Gaza. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who is on a West Asian tour to rally efforts for de-escalation in Gaza, met with Egyptian officials, including the Egyptian president. Last afternoon, Blinken then went on to visit Qatar, where he met his Qatari counterparts and the Qatari king. Remember, the U.S. along with Egypt and Qatar have been trying to put a ceasefire plan together between Israel and Hamas to end months of bloodshed in Gaza. Blinken touched down on Israel late last night and is expected to hold talks with Israeli leaders today. Okay, all right. With that, we'll move on and talk about what the commodity space is looking like. Manisha Gupta is joining us with all the update. Hey, Manisha, good morning.
Morning, and thank you for that, Sonal. Well, yes, the talks of Gaza ceasefire is one part of it that has been keeping the crude oil prices in check. The reason you're looking at $8 as a resistance right now, the markets also have seen the gas and distillate inventories in U.S. gain up. That also is another thing. And the U.S. restrictions on buyers, that's something that the street will keep an eye on. Inventory in the U.S. has continued to gain up for gas, distillate, or crude, and this is the reason that you have seen the prices where they are. Natural gas, meanwhile, has seen some strength going in because the share of natural gas in power generation in the U.S. is 42%. That is what is estimated for this year. And U.S. power consumption is expected to hit a record high in 2024. Natural gas prices are looking at some because of that. But this has continued in other commodities also. For example, gold, silver, copper all have started Asia slightly on a positive note. This is because the U.S. dollar rally has paused. The markets will also watch out for 6 to 7 Fed official speeches which are slated for the rest of this week because the next cues in sense of direction and a policy would win from that, and that is what the street will keep an eye on.
Okay, all right. So that's the lowdown on the commodity space. Thank you, Manisha, for joining us as always and giving us an update. With that, we'll take your leave on this edition of Power Breakfast, but do stay tuned. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.